Hey guys, welcome back. Mick Hayes here. That's Mick like Mick Jagger, Hayes like Isaac Hayes. And today we're going to talk about phrasing and vibrato. I've received a number of questions better yet, let me say it this way. I've received a number of questions and compliments, thank you very much, does not fall on deaf ears, or in the sense of text format, deaf eyes. But thank you. But I received a lot of questions and compliments on vibrato, and that is something I spent a lot of time on. And like I've said in previous videos, vibrato is something that once you learn, you do have a tendency to overuse it, and then you have to back it off. Applies to so many other things in life, but here's what I'll say. Vibrato it's an extension of your voice. It's an extension of your sound. Obviously, we can name a number of guitarists that have signature vibratos. B.B. King, Paul Kossoff, Angus Young from AC/DC. Just to name a few. Let's leave it there. And even better yet, let's go with one other good example, and I'm going to give you that one, which would be Johnny Guitar Watson had a very specific vibrato in the early stages of his career. But vibrato, like I said, it's something that when you master it, it's definitely something you've kind of back off. And I think the best way to kind of characterize this is vibrato should be very much like speech. It should have something to do with inflection. And I know that I've said that before, and it seems like a cop-out. Like every guitar player in the world will tell you that it's more a matter of language and speech. And it sounds like, I'm beating a dead horse, but it's sincerely true. Now, here's the first thing that I'll mention. Vibrato, if you're really looking for confidence as you're starting to build this, the trick is reverb. I feel. And vibrato is something you do usually in a breath part of, again, speaking. So for instance, as I just said that, a breath in speaking. Speaking would be vibrato, and then there would be a breath in between. Some of that should tail over. Vibrato, while it can be fast, it can be slow, it can be narrow, it can be wide, you do have to do what you like and what you feel best expresses you. The last thing I want to do is sound like B.B. King. Now, B.B. King's vibrato, for instance, came from the hand doing this, okay? I think personally that that's a lot of, it's a lot of motor skill for something that could be, guitar's not on, but sorry. Something that can be done more economical than. And some of those vibratos, as I've listened to and studied those and tried to mimic those, I did notice that a couple of those have sympathetic strings that do kind of ring out the strings above and below whatever that is that you're playing. So some of that comes into play. For instance, again, a Paul Kossoff vibrato was always, very fast and there are times that I feel that that's necessary. And again, if you're looking at actors and actresses and people playing roles, if I were to step into that role and try to play something like Paul Kossoff, I'm going to access that. And then there are players that had very, very fluid vibrato. For instance, Steve Vai, who I've mentioned before. I'm a huge fan of Steve Vai. I've been on stage with Vai and received a lot of kudos and tips from him. But he has a very signature vibrato. It's very classical, so to speak, in its approach. And I think sometimes too, when you start looking at vibrato, just to go off of that a little bit quickly, when you watch how a violinist does vibrato, or a cellist for that matter, it's really all of that stuff. It's different from instrument to instrument, but we have the advantage over pianists and keyboardists for the most part. Traditional keyboards, leaving synths off, but we have that ability. So I've said enough about it. How do I develop it? It's hard because, again, in my opinion, it's just speech and it's a physical thing. So let's just let me play a little bit and we'll kind of talk through as one comes up. I paused, so I needed to do something. I was letting something breathe, so I wanted to use a vibrato. In that sense, I used a medium. And you can hear other strings moving sympathetically, although I am muting the top strings with my palm. And again, because of the reverb and because the amp is dialed in just the right way, I'm able to use that for that length of note, and I don't have to muscle it in or over exaggerate it. Now, tone is another kind of discussion that dovetails off of this, but there are instances too that, like when I'm really loud on stage and the amp and the guitar are responding and I'm on the edge of feedback, the last thing I'm going to do is over vibrato a note, because that's going to stop the amp from reacting the way I want it to. For instance, if I were to go and that note were to go into harmonic, the overtone, I should say, I'm not going to want to vibrate the living daylights out of that. I want that to do that rather than going, because you can hear that the note dies off. It doesn't have that strength. So when the amp and the guitar are kind of, they're working together the way they hopefully should. They don't always, trust me. I'm sure you found that. But when the amp and the guitar are working together and they're going to feed back that way properly, the last thing I'm going to do is over accentuate vibrato or anything like that. I want that. That's kind of an effect. The next vibrato I guess we could talk about would be your slower vibrato. I have a tendency to do this with first finger notes. So slower vibrato there. And I'm making it sound as if it were a bend, going and vibratoing at the end. Either bending up or down. And again, really loud guitar, a lot of sustain, overdrives, things of the sort will get you even closer to that. So here I'm going to roll up the volume a little bit. And you can hear that it just has a little more length to that if I put them all the way up. And you'll notice the first thing I did was grab the two strings on each side of that to keep them quiet with my right hand. That's kind of a pretty good tip too. Those are things that we overlook all the time when we're watching guitar players. It's like we're always watching this hand, but this hand is there's obviously a direct relationship with what's going on there. So slow vibrato, for me, traditionally is first finger. A lot of times at the beginning of phrases, another one. A little faster. Same speed. Again, first finger a little slower. We're on a 4-chord now. Slower vibrato. And if you looked, when I did that, my pinky came out kind of for balance and for strength. That's, again, another thing we always overlook. And as a guitar player, there was a period of time when I watched myself in the mirror play, not out of vanity, but to kind of learn how to do some of this stuff and to be better at that stuff. So they did become involuntary. The same way that I'm a singer, like when I'm the singer and I step away from the microphone to go to take a guitar lead, it's just a change of voice. I went from using this voice to using this voice. So it was important to me to be able to say something. Now, It's also the reason why I never wanted to become kind of a shredder guitar player. And not that I disrespect them at all. As a matter of fact, I respect that they put in more time and effort and energy than I did. But I wanted my expression from the things that come from inside of me to be exactly the same. So I think that that's very important. And when you're studying vibratos, it's one thing to study them, to take them in, but then you have to process them and decide how you want your vibrato to sound. So I hope that some of this helps. Like I said, it kind of seems at times, it's mystical and all that stuff, but it's not really. I think that vibrato personally should be played in areas where playing has stopped and breath is being used and space is being, respected, and you're playing something that's just like, it should be part of your expression. And if you've ever had a moment where you're like, I just can't get vibrato, I can't get it. It's like, well, it's easy. It's moving your hand. Everyone's able to do it. If we're moving it this way, if we're moving it this way, we're all able to move our hands, obviously, but it's why you're doing it and how you're expressing yourself. And like I said, it starts to feel hippy-dippy as if I'm saying this stuff to you, but it's 100% true. It's just like, no, you're not speaking if you're, and I've always said years ago when I was teaching, it's like, remember when the kid got called on in class that read very, rudimentary, and like the whole classroom had to sit and listen to the kid who read everything like he was following it with his finger. I'm not making fun of them. That's not what I'm saying. But we all went through that. There's the connection with how you play. I mean, it's the same thing as going. And calling that your guitar solo. You would never do that. You didn't say anything. All you did was go through what you learned in drills and scales. Now you got to say something. Even that. What did I do? It's like the smallest, simplest little thing, but I said something, and it was memorable enough that it wasn't, reading out of a textbook. I just went, and that's what you should be trying to do, is build up this little vocabulary of things that are you saying something, even if you have to keep playing the same stuff over and over again until you master it, until it becomes part of your, it's muscle memory, and then go after another 3 things like that, or another 5 things like that. Exhaust those until those are part of your, your lick bank or your muscle memory. And then eventually you build up enough of them that you can, play a full 3-hour show in a crowded bar with, half the patrons, half in the bag. Kind of miss those days, but I digress. So I hope that this helps. This is literally the longest video I've done so far. If you made it to the end of the video, God bless you. Thank you very much. I appreciate it. I hope there's some clarity there, but don't let this stuff intimidate you at all. Please don't let it intimidate you. It's got nothing to do with who's better or who's best. It's got everything to do with what did you say and how well did you say it. If you haven't subscribed, I would ask that you please do. I'm super excited. We're averaging anywhere from 50 to 100 subscribers a day sometimes right now. I'm really, really excited about that. I can't wait to see this stuff grow. Can't wait to continue to get to know folks. I'm seeing your screen names coming up day after day, and I'm starting to recognize people. So by all means, if your name is StratDad7123, let me know your name is Joe or Steve or whatever it may be. But leave anything down in the comments that you think I should help more with. Leave anything down in the comments that you think I could have explained better. And again, I'm doing these videos for you guys every day, Monday through Friday. And I'm going to stuff a little something in the shorts for you guys too today. That sounded bad. I'm going to put a short up for you. So stick around, guys. Thank you so much.